The many casualties of the Revolutionary War extend far beyond our nation's ancestors. They extend to the crumbled brick and mortar that once held up houses of worship. Let's welcome historian and author of Churches in South Carolina Burned During the American Revolution, a pictorial guide. Bill, great to have you with us today.
Glad to be here, Tyler.
And can you share with us your particular fascination with churches that were destroyed during the Revolutionary War era?
Sure. I'm a builder by trade, 46-year contractor, and so I started researching church buildings from a builder's point of view, and I started seeing these churches that were burned, and then obviously got more involved in finding out why. I've always enjoyed history, particularly American Revolution history, and it's well known that 13 churches in South Carolina were burned during the American Revolution.
Okay.
However, we also determined there was no one book that talked about all 13 of them in one book.
Okay.
So Jim Neal, a friend of mine, decided we would put together this book and enlighten people all in one sitting of where these churches are. Our main emphasis on where they are, grid point coordinates, so people can drive to them.
How many are located in the Charleston area?
There's 2 in Charleston County, Wapita, which is only a graveyard now, and Christ Church, which the building is still there. It was burned during the American Revolution, restored, burned during the war between the states, restored, and is still there that you can see today.
Were any of these churches burned? I know many of them, I'm sure, were just casualties of the climate, but were any of them burned because they were places of worship?
Very, very many of them were,
Really?
yeah. Typically, the Anglican churches were burned because they were a casualty of war, had ammunition stored there. The British used them for headquarters, and then when they were, like in Christ Church, when they were finally forced out of Charlestown, they left in anger and set their church on fire. The Presbyterian churches, which are primarily located more in the back country, Lancaster County, York County, those churches were burned directly because of what they preached from the church. The Scotch-Irish Presbyterian preachers there were very loyal patriots. They did not like paying taxes and not getting anything for their money. So they preached patriotism from the pulpit. And so Bannister Tarleton particularly was having a hard time with Francis Marion, and so he targeted a lot of Francis Marion churches. And so those churches were burned just out of pure hatred, in my opinion.
This knowledge that you're sharing is absolutely remarkable. Can you give us some insight on your research process?
Well, again, a lot of these churches were documented already. It was a matter of putting it all together in one book. But again, in this book, I put more of a builder's slant to it. When you see brick ruins and you see brick turned in different directions, there's a reason for that. And we go into some detail telling about how these churches were built, why they were built, and why they remain standing, as this one here, Sheldon, does some 200 years later.
And now this one, Sheldon, it obviously wasn't rebuilt, right? And you mentioned a church that was rebuilt and then later destroyed again.
Yes.
Are any of these 13 churches, have they been rebuilt, or are they just?
The only one in South Carolina that saw flames, was rebuilt, and is used every Sunday is in Georgetown. Prince Winyah Bay Episcopal Church there. The interior was burned out. It's a solid brick building. The interior was burned out, which means the pews, the altar, the roof was burned. Then they built back on those solid brick walls. That was the same with Sheldon in Beaufort County, Biggin in Berkeley County. Those solid masonry buildings were burned. They were rebuilt back after the American Revolution, and then subsequently most of them have demised since then. But Prince George Winyah is you can worship in that church that saw flames in 1780.
Oh, I just got chills. Bill, where can we purchase this book?
This book is available through Amazon. Amazon Books, enter the title, or you can contact me, Bill Siggers. We'll be glad to send you one.
Wonderful, Bill. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And you're going to be back with us next week to talk about another special project that you've been working on. We look forward to it.
Looking forward to markers.
We're back in 2 minutes.